From Anshe Sfard, Bethel Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of the annulment of Chametz, the annulment of leavened bread. Right before Pesach, it's customary to say, Kol chamira chamia dika b'shuti, any kind of chametz products I have in my possession, chamite, la chamite, biarte, la biarte, whether I destroyed them, I saw them, live till, let them be annulled, levi hefker, and let them be ownerless, ke'afra de'ara, like the dust of the earth. What is this concept that you can annul your chametz? We know what annulment of marriage is. What's annulment of chametz? I mean, if there's bread lurking under this chair, it's there. How does my annulling it undo its presence? If I'm not allowed to have chametz in my house, and it's there, and I simply annul it with my words, with my thoughts, how does that accomplish anything? What's going on? Generally, when we have a concept in the Torah, we like to wonder, is this a concept in Kol HaTorah Kula? Is this a concept that's true in general? Or is it unique to this area of Jewish law? One theory is that this is something we know from elsewhere. The Chidush Rabbeinu David, one of the most outstanding commentators on Pesachim, a student of Nachmanides, he says, well, we do find it in other places. There are two other places where we find bitul. One is idolatry, that if a Gentile has an idol and he worships it, then it's forbidden to benefit from that idol. Even if it's gold, I have to smash it and throw it away. But if the Gentile says, Yuck, I don't want this idol anymore, and he steps on it, and he spits on it, at that point becomes no longer an idol, and if it's made out of gold, and if somehow I can get it, I can benefit from that idol. So we find this concept in idolatry. And it's interesting that chametz and idolatry both have the concept of annulment, because what is chametz? Some suggest that chametz, leavened bread, and its prohibition on Pesach is a way of symbolizing our effort to eradicate chametz, and not just chametz, but idolatry, which was rampant among the Jews in Egypt. Second place we find it is annulment of reshus, that if we're trying to make an eruv among a few people in a courtyard, but one of the people somehow doesn't belong, so he can recuse himself. He said, look, my apartment, that doesn't count. So at bitul reshus, we can make one of the areas sort of not count. That's not a Torah law, it's a rabbinic law. Interesting that it comes up in another area. Tosfot attempt to place bitul, this annulment, not in another camp of annulment in another law, but rather to claim that this law of annulment is not functioning as annulment, it's functioning under another title. You know what it is? It's really hefker. Hefker means to declare something ownerless. Let's say I own a property, and there's so many taxes on it, and it's all kinds of things. I'll write up a document, stand in front of the court and say, I don't want this building anymore. I hereby abandon this building. Anybody can come and take it. It's great. Everyone comes and they ransack the building, take all the gold gilding of the building, they take it out because I declared it was ownerless. It's something you can do in Jewish law. Tosfot claimed that that's what annulment is. It's not some sort of mysterious declaration that it doesn't exist. You're simply recusing yourself of any sort of ownership of this item. Now there are problems with that theory because we don't annul on Shabbos, but you could annul your chametz on Shabbos. Usually you annul in front of 3 people. But maybe that's only when you want to give it, bequeath it to someone else. Here, we're not trying to bequeath the chametz to someone else. We're just trying to remove ourselves. Siluk, we're trying to remove ourselves from the ownership. Then there's another theory that indeed annulment is unique to Pesach. Why is it unique to Pesach? Because, says the Rambam, here the Rabbeinu David, he says, oh, look, it's already forbidden to benefit from it, right? You can't benefit from it. You can't eat it. So in what sense is it yours? So Gemara says it's really not yours. The Torah says if you've got this chametz in your possession, you can't eat it, you can't benefit from it, but we're going to slam you with a violation of having chametz on Pesach. Why? What have I done? He said, well, you have to annul it in your mind. All that's left, says Rabbi David, there's no obligation, just one thing. To say or to think that my mind is not on this chametz. I'm not waiting till Pesach is over to eat that donut. I'm done with that donut. I have nothing to do with that donut, that bagel. He writes here as well, all you have to do is remove yourself just with your heart alone. So that's one reason, since it's so forbidden anyway, therefore unique to this mitzvah, since it's so forbidden, I can simply annul it to make it really not mine. Rashi has another theory that it's unique to Pesach, and Pesach particularly you can simply annul, because the Torah uses the language tashbitu. Torah should have said, Tevaru, you should burn it. Instead the Torah said, make it cease, like Shabbat, stopping. Put a stoppage on that chametz. How do you do that? As Onkelos says, it does a tevatlon, you make bittul. Some say Onkelos meant destruction, but maybe it means to destroy it in your mind. Rashi thinks the main idea of destroying chametz is to destroy it with these words, with the annulment. The Rambam agrees that the main annulment, the main destruction of chametz is annulment. Now, can this be done in your heart or must you recite it? Two opinions in the Rabbeinu David. Fundamentally, you could do it in your heart, as the Talmud mentions, but it's a good idea to mention it. The Jerusalem Talmud does is give a formula that we kind of use all the time. Now, it's interesting when we say the words ke'afradar, we want it to be like the dust of the earth. Where did they get this expression dust? Why not to be annulled like a dead fish? Why a duck? I mean, why not a chicken? Why specifically dust? Could be that what we're saying is that yes, to destroy chametz, we all know, Rabbi Yehuda is right, it means to burn it. But I consider it burnt. I consider it already burnt. It's like dust already. Now, there is another theory. We've emphasized the idea, the Rashi, the Rambam's view, that the main idea of destroying chametz is through mental or verbal annulment. Tosfot, of the opinion that many authorities follow Rabbi Yehuda, that indeed Rabbi Yehuda said that ein bir chametz el asrei. The only way to destroy chametz is through burning, and that burning is the essence. And this annulment, it's either borrowed, as we simply play a trick of declaring it ownerless. It's not really the real way to destroy things, but the real thing is to destroy it. So there is a whole other view. The main thing is to actually burn it. What's the concept here? What is chametz? Chametz is the evil inclination. Chametz is idolatry. Idolatry is to worship things you make. It's to worship yourself. It's haughtiness. The question is, how do we get away from our worst traits in which we self-worship, self-aggrandizement, thinking we're the best, thinking that God's not involved in life? How do we get away from that? The idea of annulment says, it stands between you and being fixed, being the way you should be. It's all in the head. It's all a matter of will. If you will it, you can improve. That's the message of the annulment. That's the message of chametz. And that's the message of Pesach. Through our will, we can grow, we can improve. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sfard Bethel Emeth congregation here in Memphis, Tennessee for our discussion of Annulment of Chametz. Join us each week for the various discussion of the Parsha, the holidays coming up. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit ASBEE.org.